evening, everyone, and welcome to KXI 12 News at 6 o'clock. I'm Jeff Eliasov. Caroline is off this evening. A homicide investigation continues in Sherman this evening following an incident involving two crime scenes. KXI 12's Olivia Thompson has been following this story all day and brings us the latest tonight.
Sherman police received a call Friday just after 3:30 a.m., leading to a homicide investigation on the East Taylor Street Bridge. For over 4 hours, investigators circled this white Chevrolet Malibu, focusing on the front driver and passenger area. A woman approached the intersection crying as she spoke with police. Officials gloving up helped a hearse driver that arrived shortly after to load up, before traffic was allowed to drive the northbound service road. As the scene cleared up here on the bridge, I went to the second location, where residents of Sherman Park Village poured into the street beside me as friends and family of a loved one involved spread the news in tears. The uncle and the mother of a man in his early 20s, whose identity has not been released, didn't want to comment on camera, but she told me that was her only son. I spoke with Sherman Police Sergeant Brandon Hughes about what he could share so far.
As part of that investigation, it led them to two different locations, one being the scene they responded to, and the other being in the 1300 block of West Taylor Street. The information we have as of right now indicates this was not a random attack.
Friday afternoon, Sherman police were still working the scene at Sherman Park Village Apartments. The complex business manager, Caitlin Taylor, provided this statement, saying, "We're aware of the tragic incident that occurred off-site involving individuals connected to our community. Our thoughts are with everyone impacted by this event. We're cooperating with Sherman police as they conduct their investigation." So far, police tell us no arrests have been made, but Hughes says new developments can happen at any point as Sherman police work closely with the Texas Rangers on this investigation. We'll continue to bring you the latest. In Sherman, Olivia Thompson, KXI 12.